Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tomorrow is International Tongue Twister Day, Tony. You got one for us?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Fuzzy Wuzzy loved the Bears. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't Wilbon, was he? You like that?
That's what you got? That's it? Really?
Well, that's
It's
all
been a
I've got.
long time since anybody identified me as fuzzy. You know, I had some, as you know, in the 80s, when I had the big
hair.
You know, the big Oscar
you had a lot
Gamble
of hair.
fro, you know, but that's been a
I
while.
have pictures. I have pictures of you. I do. Pictures
were
of you with
overseas
hair.
at the
Welcome
Olympics.
to PTI,
Yeah.
boys and girls. Today's episode, Justin Verlander contemplates the state of the starting pitcher. Baseball tests a new robo-ump, and LeBron puts 40 on the Blazers. But we begin today with Canada beating the United States last night in the final of the Four Nations face-off. Canada won 3-2 in overtime on a goal by Connor McDavid. Canada's goalie, Jordan Binnington, who was much criticized going into this tournament, had 31 saves. The last 20 shots he faced, including 8 in the third period, 6 in the overtime. Wilbon, what are your reflections on this game and the event?
It was thrilling. It was exhilarating. It was. I was tired at the end of it. I called you to try to get you to get through the third period. I know I was unsuccessful, but you seemed spent after 2 periods, so I let it go.
Yeah.
But as you know, because you watched a lot of it, I watched all of it, it was amazing. Bennington is the MVP. I don't care what the vote is. They can't win the game without Bennington making a couple of saves. And by the way, he did it in the building in which he won a Stanley Cup 6 years ago in Boston. He did that as a young goaltender, and he does it again for Canada, which a lot of Canadians didn't even want him. They didn't think he should be named the goaltender for that team. And he stops Austin Matthews a couple of times where you go, no, the game's over. It's done. He saves the game for his team to then get in a position for the biggest star on the team, of course, to win it. I'm going to push back a little bit on saying this was the equal or surpasses the Game 7 in the Stanley Cup. I don't believe that, having been to some Game 7s when my team, the Blackhawks, played in those games. I'm not going that far, but everything about it was good. Everything about it says, do this again. Don't go back to an all-star game. Don't you dare do this some more.
Yeah, so we used to be sports writers. We wrote for a living. If the NHL had come to us and said, write us a perfect script, it would be this. Stay with me for a little while.
Yeah.
You're going to have 4 teams, but you want 2 of those teams to play each other twice. You want the United States and Canada to be the stars. You want to make sure that all the players completely buy in. You want to put these games in great hockey cities, Montreal and Boston. You want to have them split so that the architecture of hockey remains the same, but you want to have the road teams win, because that would be a fun situation. The road teams would win. In the first game, you want to have some craziness out there, crazy fights about anthems. Yeah. But in the second game, you want it to be pure and you want it to be clean. You want the goalies to be terrific, and they both were. And then in the last game, you want to go to overtime and have the winning goal scored by the greatest hockey player in the world right now. Planet. And that's what you got. So that people go home and they go to bed and they say, that was great. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Mike, I know I told you this last night when we chatted. The thing that got to me most was the pregame. When Canada brought out Wayne Gretzky as captain, the greatest player in the history of hockey. And then the United States brings out Mike Eruzione, and he's wearing a Gaudreau shirt. Because we don't have, in the United States, we don't have an immortal NHL player. We don't have that. We got the 1980 Olympics. We got Miracle on Ice, and it was perfect. It was perfect.
It really, yes. It was. And now, what's the ripple? What is it going to mean going forward? What is the NHL going to do? Let me ask another question. What's the NBA going to do? Just get its butt whipped and embarrassed and have 15 million people in the middle of the week watching a hockey game that didn't exist 3 weeks ago? Or they're going to do something, they're going to wake up and do something about it?
I've told you. I've said to you, the NHL, the NBA has to pay attention. You said they won't. They won't care. Time to get spectacular with our vernacular. That's a good line. What's first?
LeBron's performance in a win over the Blazers last night was blank.
My word is redemptive. He had 40 points. I think he was 14 for 24 from the field. He did it without Luka, who did not play. He did it in a back-to-back on the road. His coach, J.J. Redick, said of LeBron, this is a quote, he sets the standard for how you're supposed to approach this craft, unquote. So I think this was LeBron talking to Brendan Hayward, saying, oh, yeah? And saying to Brendan Hayward, they pay me to win regular season games and playoff games, not exhibition games. And by the way, the Lakers pay me, the league doesn't pay me. And I think he was also saying to Luka, this is still my team. Love having you, love working with you, but this is still my team. He's 40 years old. He's having the best year anyone that age ever had in basketball.
Amen. But Tony, he had to. It was necessary. That's my word. Because the Lakers had lost to Utah. They had lost to Charlotte, two of the four worst teams in the league, and they went to Portland, which has been a bad team, but I'm really glad for my man Chauncey Billups. Portland had won 6 straight road games, and I thought the Lakers were going to lose that game last night, particularly when Luka wasn't going to play. Yeah. LeBron saved them. It was necessary because you got teams coming up on the rail, including Sacramento, Golden State, Dallas, the Clippers, Minnesota. The Lakers can't afford, even though they're ahead of them, even though the Lakers had a fine first 2/3 of the season, they cannot afford to go into some tailspin now because they still got to figure out how Luka and LeBron are going to do this. So those two have to figure it out. That's only fair. But in the meantime, you cannot go and lose 3, 4, 5 in a row. It was necessary for LeBron to do that.
And it's a good word. I'm just saying this was also aimed at Brendan Hayward.
Good win.
It was aimed at Brendan Hayward. What's next?
The Sixers would be blank to shut down Joel Embiid.
Ooh.
My word is justified because he can't play. Yeah. He was off for a week, Mike. He came back. He played 27 minutes in a loss. He shot 3 for 9. Okay, it's not working. So they would be justified in shutting him down. But it's also true that he's had stuff happen like this before. And then he gets out there and he plays a couple of good games, 3, 4 games in a row. And suddenly the Sixers are kind of sort of a threat in the playoffs. So while you can justify shutting him down, you don't have to, because this is the arc of his career.
Tony, it would be strategic too, because you're looking at a draft that is supposed to be, and Jay Billis reminded us of this last week, a really good at the top and deep. And if you're the Sixers and you are considering, apparently, shutting down Paul George, too, who's got knee issues, then you're looking at the lottery. They can't even catch the Bulls for a play-in spot. So then you're looking at that. And I don't know who a big is, if there's anybody out there who down the line could sort of replace even the numbers, much less the impact of Embiid. Malowach, the kid at Duke, the 7'2" kid, he doesn't seem like that now, but I don't know how the draft is going to shape out with not yet. Not with, well, Olajuwon averaged like 7 and something his freshman year too, and then oops, look what happened. So you big kids take a longer time to develop. I don't know. But Tony, let me give some credit to our friend Kendrick Perkins, who I know I was sitting with a couple of different times, and he said, hey, this is not hard. Sit Joel Embiid. Sit him down, force him to sit down. You cannot get through with this. You can't limp through with Joel Embiid doing this. And I think of a conversation that I had with Embiid in the finals last year where I hoped he didn't play in the Olympics. Not because I didn't want Embiid not to win a medal, because I did. I really like Joel Embiid. I just thought that the wear and tear of a summer, the practices and the games, were going to be more than he could handle once we got to now.
Happy anniversary, Anthony Davis. On this day 9 years ago, while with the New Orleans Pelicans, Davis scored 59 points in a win over the Pistons. Davis took 34 shots. He made 24 of them. 2 for 2 from 3, 9 for 10 from the foul line. Davis is now with Dallas after being traded from the Lakers for Luka Doncic. Davis played 31 minutes in the only game he's played with the Mavericks. Scored 26 points, grabbed 16 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks before leaving with an adductor strain. He will be reevaluated in 2 weeks and at minimum will miss 7 more games. The other Dallas bigs, Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, are also out for extended periods of time with injuries.
Tony, there's certain guys I think of, and I wish they were blessed with great health, bodies that could withstand the punishment of professional sports. The first 2 guys I think of are Chicago kids, Derrick Rose and Anthony Davis. And of course, if you're going to go expand that list, the bigs would be Anthony Davis and Bill Walton. wouldn't we like to see what they could do if they could have been out there for like 75, 80 a year? Even greater careers.
Happy trails. Yes, happy trails to UC Irvine, dribbling out the clock while up 41 at the end of the first half. The Anteaters led the Matadors of Cal State Northridge 58-17 with seconds left when Sherelle Nahum received an inbounds pass, dribbled twice, then launched a one-handed three-quarter shot, swished it. Nahum's three put UC Irvine up 44 at the half. I'm not sure it was necessary, but it was very fun to watch. As Wilbon always says, if you don't like it, stop it. The Anteaters went on to win the game 100-56, dropping Cal State Northridge to 4-20 on the season.
You have to feel bad for Cal State Northridge. You look up somebody's dribbling out of clock, and sometimes players don't take these shots because they don't want their shooting percentage to go down. Kudos.
Really?
Yeah.
You think it's that selfish? Really?
Yes.
Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
The Wemby-less Spurs beat the Suns in Austin, Texas last night. Is that significant?
Yeah, it is for the Suns, who don't look right now, Tony, like they could even make the play-in. They look like they're outside of that. The Yankees are ditching their facial hair ban for what Hal Steinbrenner is calling well-groomed beards. Make any sense?
Goes all the way back to George Steinbrenner. It's 50, 60 years ago. I sort of liked it because it was the only one. You could always have a mustache. The U.S. women's soccer team blanked Colombia 2-0. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's like the 50th straight shutout. Yes. I mean, we expected. The Saints are reportedly hiring former Chargers head coach Brandon Staley as their defensive coordinator. Is he a good fit?
It's a bad team. I mean, Kellen Moore is a young guy and with a lot of enthusiasm. It's not a good team. Last one, men's college hoops tonight. 14th ranked Michigan State at number 12, Michigan. Who you got, Mr. Big Ten? Who you got?
Traditional Big Ten, baby. Not this California influx. I'm going with Tom Izzo and the boys to win in Ann Arbor. I am.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time, and I am Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, knuckleheads.